The year is 1905, the season is autumn, and Max Knoll has decided to open up a post office and general store establishing the town of Knowlton. While the name would be changed in 1906, Max Knoll established the roots of Strome, Alberta. Fast forward to February 3rd, 1910, and Strome officially became an incorporated village. By 1911, it was one of the most prosperous towns, with farmers looking at Strome as the town where they received a fair deal when other places could not or would not pay the prices given here. August 4th, 1914. Following Britain's declaration of war on Germany, the Governor-General declared war between Canada and Germany. More than 650,000 Canadians and Newfoundlanders would join the fight, with over 66,000 of them giving their lives and another 172,000 being wounded. And on November 11th, 1918, an armistice was signed between the Germans and the Allies, ending World War I, a date now known as Remembrance Day, which is signified by the poppy being worn above your heart on the week leading up to this day. After the war, many Canadian cities and towns would add memorials, and for Strome, the local school kids at the time helped to plant trees along Main Street in memory of those who gave their lives during the war. Let's switch gears. Sports, yeah. But not just hockey. Strome has always been seen as a place that is active in recreation, with local business people in the area hosting free events during local sports days and tournaments. The Memorial Hall, built in 1935 after a fire, hosts dances, gatherings, and apparently the best dance floor in Alberta. Locals, back me up in the comments. The Memorial Hall also has two bronze plaques within the vestibule, bearing the names of the hamlet's First and Second World War casualties. Strome is situated on Highway 13 with a small but active community, and the Statistics Canada 2021 population census has Strome at a population of 232, which is down by 28 from 260 people in 2016. So picture this, you're a senior living in Strome and it's Friday night. What the heck are you getting up to? Meeting up at the Strome Drop-In Center on Main Street, of course. It hosts celebrations, card parties, floor curling, lunches, and potluck gatherings. In 2020, they added a pickleball court, which is reported to be a huge hit. Let's take a short drive to the north where we can find Wavy Lake, a serene spot for nature enthusiasts and a popular feeding stop for geese and ducks. And in the fall, hunters flock to take advantage of the abundant game in the area. Like so many prairie towns, the railway shaped Strome. It had multiple grain elevators with only one remaining in the present day. This ex-Alberta wheat pool elevator still has the pool logo showing, and this photo from 2020 is the most recent shot I could find. There was a large Pioneer grain elevator in Strome as late as 2013, but it is no longer there, which is a shame because my goodness, it was a beauty. The Strome seed cleaning small feed mill still exists to this day, which is another fantastic looking building as seen here in 2020. Welcome to the Sodbusters Archives Museum, a must-visit if you are ever in the area. It was established in 1986 to preserve the history of the prairies and stands as a tribute to the people who called this area home. Inside the museum, you can find displays showcasing the daily life of the settlers and indigenous people on the prairies in the 1900s. It also contains an extensive natural history collection, a military memorial, a Canadian Pacific Railway exhibit, a bridal gown display, and farming equipment. The museum is also a recognized member of the Alberta Museums Association. To wrap up the History of Strome segment, I wanted to share from an article in a newspaper that was written in 1909 and has been preserved thanks to the University of Calgary, in the hopes that it will give you a little insight into the happenings of hamlets at the time. So grab a seat, a nice drink, and heck, even your favorite snack, and enjoy this build footage while I read this news article. May 3rd, 1909, Strome. Bulletin News Service. Robert Swap left on Tuesday morning for Seattle, where he will in future reside. Bob will be missed by his friends in Strome and vicinity. CF Lyle has just received another new Reeves traction engine to assist in his large plowing business. He has also started in his spring break-in and has turned over quite a bit of ground during the past week. Charles Sign of the Bowman Sign Lumber Company is in town for a few days. Miss S.G. Ottle returned last evening after spending a few days with friends and relatives in Wetaskiwin and Ponoka. Fred Hamill leaves tonight for Wainwright, where he will work at the carpenter business. The section men are busy these days, giving the woodwork along the track a fresh coat of whitewash. Rev Marshall of Calam spent Monday in the city on business. Geostatic has placed a new platform across the front and east side of his hotel, which greatly improves the look of the building. The Macy Harris Company have found their new large warehouse too small to accommodate all their goods, and have had to build an addition on it. Mr. Lucas returned on Monday last to his old home at Latham 3. Miss Anderson of Daysland spent a few days last week with her grandparents, Mr. and Miss Hugh. George W. Ross of Pleasanton was doing business in town on Monday. I find it so interesting seeing the things deemed newsworthy at the time compared to when I was growing up, and I just wanted to share that brief look into the past with all of you. If you would like to read the full article, I have it linked in the description of this video alongside all of the other research I have done for this video. Now that we have an understanding of the city we are recreating, let's touch on the land which Strome stands. This is Flagstaff Hill, otherwise known as Treaty Hill, located in Township 041, Range 11, WF, or more easily located here. The name Treaty Hill is believed to come from a peace event that took place there on July 3rd, 1872, involving Bishop Vital Grandin mediating peace among the Cree. For me, I will be referring to it as Flagstaff Hill, and here's why. A personal communication letter from Bishop Vital Grandin to his family on August 1872 reads, June 9th. Was the second Sunday that we spent on a trip. We were encamped at a place which the indigenous call the Flagstaff. I inquired as to the origin of this name, and I am told that formerly a great Pied Noir chief had died on this hillock and had been buried there. Then his compatriots. I read through a lot of old letters for this video, and they are quite a tough read, with the words these settlers used to describe the indigenous people. So if you notice any words changed from the original letters, it's out of respect and love for the Cree and Blackfoot. So the earliest name coming from the Blackfoot and Cree is Flagstaff, and that's why I'll be referring to it as Flagstaff Hill as opposed to Treaty Hill. It's through this documentation, amongst others, thanks to the heritage of Barns of Flagstaff's site and their record keeping, that we know that the land of Strome, Alberta, and the entire Flagstaff County reside on Cree, Sarcese, Blackfoot, and Bloodland. And this is the Manitou Stone. It weighs around 320 to 385 pounds and is 50 to 60 centimeters in diameter. It is the largest meteorite in Canada, and it consists mostly of pure iron. The Cree and Blackfoot made pilgrimages to it, with the area around it becoming a gathering place for ceremonies, and tribal elders recognized its immense spiritual power and believed it protected the people. In the present day, it is housed in the Royal Alberta Museum in Edmonton. In Canada, we have 11 numbered treaties, with treaties 6, 7, and 8 covering most of Alberta. The treaties are built on an assumption of a respectful, cooperative, and bilateral relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. They exist between the Crown and the signing First Nations, and I think the best way to honor the land on which Strome resides is to share the following acknowledgement of Treaty 6 territory. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. So now that we know both about Strome and the land it resides on, let's dive into a time lapse and talk about what you are seeing on screen. So welcome to the time-lapse portion of the video, and the rest of this video will basically follow your typical City Skylines video. I'll talk a bit here and there about what we're building on screen, but I hope you enjoyed the history segment of this episode. It was a lot of fun doing all the research for Strome, Alberta, getting to talk to people that are from the area, and just the general research portion of it, because I'm a big history nerd myself, so getting to deep dive into that for a City Skylines video, as opposed to your normal video where I'm just building a city that doesn't exist, is a lot of fun. So I hope you all enjoyed that and are enjoying this new series on the channel, Tiny Builds. So we've got the main 3 buildings here. There's a lot of buildings and a lot of activity on this street here, which is, they define it as Main Street, but it's not actually labeled as Main Street on Google Maps. But it has the Memorial Hall, the Sodbusters, and I forget the name of the other building that's beside it, and of course the post office that you'll see me here creating. And it's definitely hard. So in City Skylines 2, we don't have access to any custom assets or anything like that. And so I'm basically using, all I have is the buildings that they've given us, either from the region packs, DLC, or just vanilla base game. And a couple updates and patches here have added some stuff to the game. But I've had to sort of figure out my own way of, it's not gonna be one-to-one. The roads will be one-to-one. The scale will be as close to one-to-one as I can in this game. But how can we make it feel like the town, even though we don't have the assets? And I feel like I've found a good way of doing it. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this and this series. It's a lot of fun for me to put this together. And we get to do a little bit of detailing. Obviously, the series takes a step back from the hardcore detailing that I normally do, as we're focused on sort of creating this entire town in one episode here. But there's still little touches that I can do, especially for areas that are noteworthy. So it's a good practice in what should be heavily detailed and what maybe doesn't need to be heavily detailed. Although if I had it my way, you know, and I could somehow make all the footage on a really hardcore detailed small town fit in, I would do it. But for now, I think this is a cool way to blend my love for history with my love for city building. And so I saw this building. Now, one of the hard parts about this build here, and it's going to be the hard part of any of the hamlets that I cover on this series, is I have different images of Street View versus the Google Maps Overview. So the 2 separate ones, the Google Maps Overview non-Street View is usually more current, and Street View, especially for smaller hamlets, is less accurate. So I've gone off of a lot of stuff that I've seen from the Google Maps Overview, and I saw this building that looked to be abandoned, so I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. I've never tried to build an abandoned building in this game yet, and this was so much fun. We have these awesome board up props, use the dead oak, some dead plants to give it that real dry Albertan overgrowth look to it. It was a lot of fun doing, and there's a lot of things in these builds, both in the first Tiny Builds and this one, that I haven't done before, that's pushed me outside of my zone to think more creatively how we can do these things. So adding some growth to the bottom there, just some plants that are sunken in, and it's my go-to method for foliage. Grab a bush, grab a flower, whatever it is, even trees, sink it into the ground, and it just works so well for this overgrowth since we don't have any, like, sprites. I know that there are sprites in the game. They do exist, but they have not been released, and they cover the roads. They look really good. They look amazing. But they cover roads and there's no way to remove it, which is unfortunate. If somebody comes up with a brush to remove those from the roads, man, we could turn it on. It would be a game changer. So this is a new method I've been doing and experimenting with, and this I did on the last episode. This is that kind of small detached sidewalk. So I use a surface, I use a net lane, and then I add in an invisible path afterwards to make it function. And then we're just laying down some more roads for the overall network of Strome to get that completed. And here's how I get a more realistic curve angle. So I put down 2 roads to identify the 2 corners there, and then use a curved segment to get a really nice looking curve on the dirt road. I'm sure there's probably other ways. I've learned a lot, both from your guys' feedback on YouTube videos and the comments, the Twitch live streams, that I seem to do things, they work for me, and it's how I know of doing it, but I'm kind of like the old man, the old farming man, you know? I do things with my hands, and I don't need this fancy new technology, I'll do it myself, you know, like that kind of vibe. I do things that, it gets the same result, but it's longer and harder to do, you know? So, it works for me, you know? So as we start to wrap up the infrastructure part here and finishing the layout for Strome, I wanted to mention I get a question quite a lot on the live streams, every now and then on YouTube videos as well, of how do I start a city? Well, I can't touch on cities here as we're building a smaller town, but if you're ever looking for a town layout or a good starting layout, I highly suggest looking at any of these smaller towns, whether it be in America, Canada, wherever, and take a look at how they're laid out. So many of these small towns, these hamlets in Alberta, are all started based around rail, which I think is a great way to start your city. Start with your industry basis, your rail basis, and build the town off of that. And there it is. We completed the road layout, and now it's time to work on the Strome grain elevator and kind of figure out what asset works the best. I think that one's going to be the go-to. It's not exactly one-to-one, but when we add some color to it, like look at this, we get it pretty dang close to the coloring on the actual one. And while this one, I don't, maybe it's a wood texture, it kind of looks a little bit too, yeah, especially from this angle, that's steel as opposed to wood. I think it does good enough, to get the idea and vibes across. Again, we have so limited assets, so we got to use what we have in game. We're going to add the Strome name there, and don't worry, the letters look super jank. I will adjust the height so that they're all level and make sure that they're all angled correctly. It definitely looks a bit jank when I'm just slamming down the letters, but there you go. You can see I've adjusted the letters. It looks much better. And there it is, like the big grain elevator of Strome with the lettering on it. It looks really cool. Wait till you see some of the cinematics as well at the end of this video from the builds today. It is, I'm really proud of them. I think this build turned out beautifully. And speaking of this build as well, it will be available day one. I tried to last time with the first Tiny Builds episode, but I couldn't pull it off. But anyways, I digress. Day one. So right now, if you're seeing this and it's launch day, or whenever you're seeing this, the build is available on Paradox Mods. Just search for Strome, Alberta. You'll also find the map there, or you can find the map linked in the description of this video. So I'm just going to add some foliage and touch up a little bit of detailing to this Strome grain elevator here. And again, using this bush, make sure you have it set as a dead bush if you want that sort of dry, grassy overlook. And I just spam it down both manually for certain areas where I want a little bit more detail. And then in other areas like here, you can just go in with the brush and just spam it all over the place to get that really nice overgrowth look. It works fantastic, especially if you're going, again, this is more for like that dry, grassy kind of look, but it works so well. And then we're going to touch up the seed cleaning. I believe it's the seed cleaning building. And honestly, it's kind of crazy what a little bit of recolor can do for some of these assets. The assets are so much better than anything we had vanilla, except Green Cities DLC and Cities 1. That DLC slapped. But the base assets we have are so much better than anything we got in City Skylines 1. And a little bit of recolor completely changes the look of some of these assets. We're going to come in with a couple of static noise decals just to clean up the base there and give it a little bit more of that rustic industrial look. And if you're ever looking or wondering, how can I add a little bit of realism to my builds? Decals, decals, decals. I have a video on how to install static noise decals, but even just the decals that are available on the workshop, because there's so many, or on Paradox Mods, I'm so used to saying on the, the Steam workshop, but on Paradox Mods, there's so many great options. A little bit of decal work goes a long way in achieving a much more realistic look to your builds. And there it is, the seed cleaning building's complete, but let's get a little bit of dry foliage around the edges just to blend the decals a bit. And then they had this nice sports complex with 3 baseball diamonds, 2 small ones, and 1 big one. So I want to add those down just to get an idea of the scale here. We'll come back in and touch them up a bit later on in the episode, but I want to make sure I get the scale of this build correct. And now it's time to hop into the industries panel, and you'll notice, you see it this time, in the last episode of Tiny Builds, I got the only land that wasn't fertile for farming. And so this time, I had checked and looked on it. It looks like we have much more fertile land. And you see me doing these weird shapes with the perimeter of it. That's just to match the shape as close as I could of the farmland that is there in the real-life Strome, Alberta. And then we're just placing some houses down. That southwest pack gives us such awesome homes. And a couple foliage there just to blend it in. The homes I won't touch on too much. It's just me placing down assets. So I won't. I'll make that stuff very brief, and we'll focus on the more meat and so what's the old term? Meat and potatoes, I think. Yeah, the old meat and potatoes there. You'll see me working on the path here as well. So just using this net lane by Crypto Gamer to sort of lay out where I want the sidewalks to be, and we'll touch those up just slightly. And once those are laid down, you can come in with an invisible pathway over top of them to give them functionality. And then this is going to be yet another, I believe it's another fire hall build there. The fire halls for small towns are so interesting and unique. I'm a big fan of, it's like a kind of random thing to nerd out about, but, some people nerd out about rail. I nerd out over fire halls. So anytime I'm like looking at a build or on Google Maps and exploring a town I haven't checked out before, I instantly go and look at their fire halls just to see, what do the fire halls look like here? And if I'm lucky enough to, I'll see, I'm also a big fan of like fire engine liveries. Random stuff, I guess, but somebody's got to be passionate about them, right? So I'm filling in this empty lot here. We're going to sprinkle in a couple of domes, invisible parking lots there to get some vehicles in there parking. And with a lot of these buildings as well, too, so we'll place a lot of these vanilla assets. Better Bulldozer does a lot of the hard lifting for this project as a whole, and pretty much all of my series. We'll find assets that look good, but they need a little bit of touch it up. So I come in with Better Bulldozer, and I remove pretty much everything off of them. Again, in most cases, like I love how detailed the assets are for suburban homes and whatnot, but I come in, remove a bunch of stuff, and recolor them. As you can see with the 2 assets there, we got a white and yellow building now. Recolor, little bit of Better Bulldozer. It is crazy what you can do. You can completely transform the look of an asset to make it fit the vibe that you're going for. Man, those mods do a lot of heavy lifting with the assets that we have in this game. And so we're going to add in a little bit more farming, and I've gone with vegetable farms this time as the main one. And then I've started covering them with some of Dome's surfaces. So Dome has this entire farming pack, and it is massive. Decals, surfaces, everything. So many options to give you more realistic farms. So I just go in and I cover up the vanilla surface. So again, these are fully functioning farms. We're placing them down. They fully function by vanilla standards. But to give them a little bit of a better look, just come in with a surface to cover it up. And you might notice as well, too, that I'm able to get my farms in some cases a little bit bigger than maybe vanilla would allow. And that's using the Anarchy mod. So using Anarchy, you can, basically build out your plots, I think as big as you want for a farmland. And look at how good it looks with that farmland after adjusting them with the surfaces. The layout too, like this, man, Strome has a really fun layout. It's pretty, like, straightforward. Most of them follow a similar layout. But Strome and our last one, Piapot, Saskatchewan, had really cool layouts. They were, I don't know, a lot of fun. Layouts that maybe I hadn't, these are towns that you would just drive by, and I'm really going to be like thinking about them too much. But yeah, they have fun historical layouts there. So now we're working on the area, and so I believe that this is attached to the Sodbusters, or like a part of the Sodbusters. This is the spot where I found all the old farming equipment was on display. Right across from this farm here, nestled against the trees. This nice little area here. And it looked like it had all of the old farming equipment that I had researched about for the Sodbusters Archive Museum, which is on Main Street. And I was figuring out, like, how can I pull it off? But we have props. We have farming props. It's awesome. Like, look at this. So we were able to get a couple, farming things. I don't know their technical term, but a couple farming vehicles there. And now some trailers and whatnot, and a little mill thing. I think that's the thing. I used to use something like that. My parents' place to, I think it was like seed would come out of there. I'd push it around, and it would make the grass grow. I'd push this little thing, while listening to my 2000s emo music at the time, and yeah. And now we'll add some foliage here, and I'm usually not a big user of the line tool. But in this case, if you enable it random, so it has a random rotation to the trees, and then make sure that you enable all sizes, so from sapling to adult to even dead if you want as well, it adds a nice little look to it. You could get this really realistic sort of tree line that does a lot to carry a build, because you just slap one of those down, it takes a couple seconds, and you get this really nice foliage line to your builds. So let's get a couple more homes added to this build and start filling out some of these blocks. And in some of these cases, I noticed that some of these smaller homes that are part of basically a suburb, a subdivision, they have little farms attached to them in some cases, which is really cool. So I wanted to make sure that we add that little detail. And when you see me dotting down trees in that area, like in a line that seems very specific or intentional, it's because I'm following along on Google Maps as well to make sure that some of those tree lines are accurate, so that from above, it kind of looks like the real thing there. And then I've started using those net lanes. In some cases, I use them without a road. And what I'll do is come in with an invisible network and draw it over it to make it function. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know why I did it, because some I use roads. They look the same. I'm not getting like an added benefit for using a net lane and an invisible road versus a net lane and an actual road. So I don't know. Previous Moose, when he was building it, just decided that was the way to go for that one. And now we're going to work on this sort of community center, I believe it is, build, which is, man, the community centers, those are the lifeblood of your small town, especially when it's got 3 baseball diamonds, which is awesome. Man, I bet you the baseball games around there probably go so hard, dude, small town sports, what a vibe. I grew up in Kamloops, which is not, especially nowadays, it's not a small town. It's definitely getting into a fairly decent city. But when I grew up in Kamloops, still had that small town vibe, and the sports, man, it's the lifeblood of these small towns. I also haven't mentioned this on a video yet, so, let's mention it when we're, 30 minutes into this video? But I've started slowing down the footage, or not slowing it down, not touching the footage, so the footage is at real-time speed now for my videos. Nobody's commented on it, so I assume that people like it. I saw Red Kool-Aid does this, and I loved it. I was like, oh, that's a cool way. Like, let's just do normal speed footage. So I hope you all are enjoying that the footage isn't sped up. It's also not slowed down. You are seeing it in real time. It does mean that I had to cut a little bit more, but the stuff that you are seeing is the stuff that matters, that I want you to see from the build. So a little bit of detail in there, and I've started using this clothesline sunken into the ground as a sort of rope fence, or like you think about those like chain fences, those rope fences that you would have seen definitely prominent around school areas there. The clothesline, so good. I never thought about using that asset. It's awesome for it. And then I saw that there was a little playground over here, so I figured, okay, we got to get a playground in here, but we need a theme for this playground. And I thought, what better than a chirpy theme? So we're going to build that out. But first, what about a little dirt path leading to it? So here it is. Let's build out the chirpy themed playground. Because what better for a small town than a chirpy themed playground for the kids, you know? So we'll get this detailed up, and this is using props from was it the latest patch or update where they added leisure venues, right? It was leisure venues, I think it was, that they gave us a ton of chirpy stuff. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of chirpy branded stuff. I don't care. I usually avoid it for the sake of realism in my builds, but this just kind of seemed like kind of funny. A silly little thing that I could put in was this beautiful chirpy themed, playground for this small town of Strome. And now it's time to detail up the community center. So we'll start with some decals, basically just following again alongside the real thing. So adding in concrete where it looks like it would be, recoloring the buildings, demolishing the stuff that the buildings come with, and letting the decals sort of do a lot of the hard carrying here. Because again, a couple details decals like this, and look at already how much more realistic that looks. And then I figured let's cover this whole area up with gravel to give it like a gravel parking lot look. And those gravel decals are great. They blend in perfectly with each other, and then they blend in with the road. But you still see the dark lines of the road leading through, so you can sort of see where cars would drive through there. And a couple trees to spruce up the area. Did you get it? Because that tree is called a spruce tree. Ah, there I go. So that one I added a road to it. Nice. Couple more homes, couple more sidewalks, and this build is really starting to come to life. And here's where you'll see, so we use the invisible pathway along it, but you'll notice that the homes then complain about no car access. So use the blue net, the blue network there, the road network, connect it to the home and then to the road, and it will give them road access, meaning that they can use the sidewalk, so the sidewalk's fully functional, and the homes themselves have road access, so the homes don't lose functionality. And now I'm going to detail up this area here. I was unsure what the buildings were. So I matched the colors from the Google Maps overview, but on Street View, I couldn't get an idea for what they were. I believe maybe they're like hardware stores, but I couldn't fully figure out what they were. And then I'm using this fire hall, just the static ploppable, recoloring it white for the church look. And look at how good it looks. Sure, maybe the garage doors on the front don't make too much sense, but it looks so great with a little bit of recolor to make it look just like like a small town church. It's awesome. Recolor, again, doing a lot of hard lifting. Now, I do have to move this neighborhood because I put it on the wrong street, which is why I labeled all the streets to their real-world counterparts. So I was able to make sure, like, oh, is this actually on 50th Street or Main Street or 39 or whatever? And it helped out a ton. And then there's the seniors drop-in center with a couple parks beside it. So I'm going to leave you with a little bit of footage to wrap up here and a nice cozy tune. And I will catch up with all of you in the live play segment. Enjoy. So here we are, Strome, Alberta. And I want to take some time to just fly around and show you guys what we came up with and give you a better look at the build in a sort of live play setting here. My God, that reflection is bright, eh? Love the farmland. Love how it turned out. Love that it fully functions as well. Not a big fan of... actually, so this is awesome. This is super cool for vanilla farming. Love that. Absolutely. Although I guess... I don't know. Do those things actually move in real life? Probably, right? Those things are... I don't know. Maybe not. Don't like what this is, though. Not a big fan of those random... Yeah, like this stuff. What, not sure what they're thinking was there with that. But the vehicles are really cool. The vehicle animations are awesome. Especially this one is there. Yeah, the tractor one. Look at this. Like, that's awesome. That's really cool. This, not as cool. But you know what is cool? These things spawn with plants inside, eh? You see that? Little, like, plants inside? They actually have, like, it's cool. It looks nice. I like that. But, yeah, I wish it didn't have the other stuff. Oh, yeah, and this guy pulling in. Look at that. Damn, that thing is that guy gonna fit through? Not really, but that's fine. But speaking of, we can start here. So here is, again, I believe this is an attachment to the Sodbusters, which is kind of crazy because this building's here, and the Sodbusters Archives Museum is all the way over here. So you got Sodbusters there, and the farming equipment that's on display is way over here. Now, I'm assuming that they're related. There's a crazy LOD on this thing. Look at that. Wow. But yeah, it's super cool. I saw this on maps and had to get that created, and I think it turned out really well. So here's the general layout with all the buildings to match where the homes are put. So if you see these little gaps, that's because there's nothing there or no homes there in the real world location. And here's the community center that I think turned out really, really well, and it fully functions. Like, look at this. It looks so awesome with the cars parking on the gravel road there. Got the chirpy playground. That turned out super well. And the baseball fields. And so I added a couple of these little sports stands to it just to give a little bit more detail and character to it. And then, yeah, you got the big rail that's rocking through. And probably my favorite, look at how good this turned out. Look at that Strome grain elevator. I got the Keller pretty close as well, too. I think that is awesome. And you'll see it, too, as you come in. You're driving into the city here from the highway as you're coming in, and boom, there it is. You can even see it a little bit above the cluster of trees there. I just think that turned out so well. And yeah, here's the entrance to the city as well, which has this nice little gas station. We detailed at the start of the episode there. Some more of that good foliage detailing, and some buildings in the back. Not sure what they are. Some that's sort of like gasoline or something. But got at them, and then there was like a little home beside it. I don't know if like the people that live in that home, do they run the or own the gas station as well? They just happen to be beside it. It's very interesting. There's just like one home here. And then we've got the RIP. So what is this for? This is where the beautiful grain elevator, the red one that we showed off at the start of the video, used to be. And it's not there. So I figured let's do a little monument for that grain elevator and just put it in there with the little... RIP for it, you know, for that great grain elevator that used to exist. And it was a banger, too. I can't believe they tore it down. Even if it's like, okay, well, it's not being used anymore, but, dude, you got to preserve it as like a historic thing. I don't know. You know, I'm a big fan as well of grain elevators. Look at how cool this is with the rail rocking through it. Oh, that looks awesome right there. Yeah, look at that vibe. You got the train rocking through the town here. That is such a heckin' vibe. Decent audio on the train as well, too. Like, I like the, you know, like that's decent audio. I like that a lot. But yeah, there it comes. And that's the 100 train car mod, courtesy of Tygon, which I don't think he ever released publicly. But I have it. It's just awesome. It's great. Love it. I had reached out to him and he made it. Really, really appreciate it. Then we've got the little motel here. The wording just didn't work out because it matches the coloring too close. So it made it too hard to read, so I didn't put the lettering on there. And then we've got this abandoned spot that had this little utility shack thing there. And then, yeah, the main street here. We've got the memorial with the memorial trees as well, the memorial park, and the post office, Sodbusters Memorial Hall. And then we have the seniors drop-in center. This place is bumping, man. This is the place to be every Friday night. You're a senior. get down there. That's the place to be. And then had these nice little parks beside it, so we detailed that up, which I think looks really good with the parks and this like nice little tree-lined street here. The main street turned out really well. And in case you're wondering why I didn't continue the planters from here, because this is really cool, eh? With the little planters down the main street, it's because it doesn't have it in the real-world location, so I didn't add it there. And then we've got the fire hall here, another little rural utility shed there. But, oh, and the seed. Look at this. Love the coloring on this, like the little wear on the paint. Oh, that turned out so well. Color it a little bit white there, and then some red paint on it. And then the church. The church turned out really well. And, yeah, this is one. Oh, I love it. Basically, just a little bit of recoloring to color that white. Instantly made that feel like a steeple. Church steeple, just like that. That looks so, so good. So, yeah, here's the overview of Strome, Alberta. If you would like to fly around in this, you can find it right now on the Paradox Mod store. You will need a bunch of mods to make this run. As you can tell, fairly modded, and you'll need static noise decals. You can load it without it. They just won't spawn, so some of it might look a little bit messy or less detailed. But all of the mods for it can be found on my Discord, and there is a dedicated mod page that lists all the mods that I update anytime I add something to it, so make sure you sub to those. But otherwise, it's available on Paradox Mods if you want to fly around Strome and check it out. It's really cool, and maybe clean up some of the stuff I did, maybe add some more small towns, because it is a one-to-one map, so if you zoom out of the whole map, it is a one-to-one map, which is really, really cool, and it has Wavy Lake, which is awesome, up in the north there. So if you're looking at it here, that's the north, and that would be the south there of Strome, Alberta. But yeah, super fun doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Tiny Builds. Let's head to the outro cinematics.
I was walking out one evening late. The moon was rising high, headed for the riverside. Around us fuss and fight. Patrolman, he walked by, asked me where I'm going. Said if the sun set on me there, I'd never make it home. He said don't go downtown tonight, there's trouble on the rise. The Batman in the shadows, and they're bound to take your life. If you mind to ramble, I'll tell you how I do. Keep your money in your pocket, then the razor in your shoe. Slipping silent through the creek, the hounds to lose my scent. I went up a tree and I watched them turn, wondering where I went. I take a rest, I hold my breath, I let it simmer down. I climb too high in my wandering eye, spied the lights of town. He said don't go downtown tonight, there's trouble on the rise. The Batman in the shadows, oh, they're bound to take your life. But if you mind to ramble still, I tell you how to do. Keep your money in your pocket, boy, and the razor in your shoe.